Well, here we go. Another dodgy airport hotel, and this one is in Goussainville, just off Paris de Gaulle Airport. Me and a friend had attended the Paris Air Show at Le Bourget, and we had an early flight back to London the following day, so we opted to try and find somewhere that was affordable but within close reach of Charles de Gaulle Airport, and this Ibis Budget, just off Charles de Gaulle Airport in Goussainville, seemed to be the best option price-wise, because all the hotels near Charles de Gaulle were all coming up at over £200 or £100 a night, whereas this one was about 80, which split between us 50-50, came to about £40 each. It was opposite this rather dodgy looking hotel. It looked alright, like your standard Ibis Budget at first, and when we came in they had some snacks that the guests could have once we logged in. We were told that the air conditioning was faulty and not working. Overall, the public area didn't look too bad, although my friend had noticed some flies buzzing around the food. I didn't personally, but... And overall, it looked pretty standard for an Ibis Budget. Not that you can really write too much home about that, because it is pretty much in the title, budget. Don't expect anything fancy. Our room was basic, although there was a few things that did crop up our eyes. The beds were okay, but a bit hard. And for some reason, the bathroom, which I'll show later, is behind this separate door. Why two doors? Oof, I have no idea. Like I said, the aircon wasn't working, but we were able to work the thermostat somewhat, so we were able to keep the room somewhat cool for that afternoon, or should I say evening. We were quite hot from walking around the Paris Air Show that day. It was a very, very warm late June day. We bought our own snacks, as well as a couple of bits from downstairs. There was a few hangers to hang some stuff up as well, and we had this nice view overlooking the opposite hotel, which looked very, very much like a cheap motel you'd see in an American horror or crime film. One good thing about this place, though, was the views of the arrivals, although that is obviously subject to wind direction with any airport. Overall, it was good, cheap for one night, until we started to dig further. Later that night, we realised when we were looking around that the place had not been cleaned properly. This little heater was a very prime example. It looked like it hadn't been cleaned in months. Ew. And, yeah, so not very good. It took us about 29-30 euros to get here by taxi. You can get to this place by bus and a bit of a walk, but if you're tired at the end of the day, if you've got loads of luggage, you don't really want to be doing that. But it's... I mean, the location's not that brilliant for an airport hotel, I have to admit. And it also didn't help that when we did get to this place, the taxi driver was very keen to get away. Like, he didn't want to hang out in this area, which did raise a few red flags for us as we got off. It doesn't end there, though. Looking around, the toilet, well, let's just say it was clean. This was probably the best bit of that room. So they provided some paper cups, and the shower itself, I did try the shower and the soap. It worked well for the morning, obviously, going, you know, when I had to go with to the airport. So I'll give it credit on that one. It at least worked. And as you can see, we did have some nice views of the place. That was pretty much the main selling point for this thing. I caught that the morning before we were due to leave. That's an Air France A330 arriving from St. Martin, going into Paris Airport. So as you can tell, we are not far from the airport, despite the lack of transport to get there. The corridor, obviously, all blues and greens. Very, very much what you'd expect from a Ibis Budget. Although I have to admit, given the state of the room, I probably wouldn't recommend to anyone staying here unless it was like the absolute last option. If you have to pay a little extra just to stay a bit closer in a nicer hotel, please do. There was a breakfast out. We didn't pay for breakfast as we had a lounge, but we were able to grab a coffee without any problems, and they did allow us to take a little bit, so we did grab a bit of French toast each before we left. It was okay. Nothing fancy, because again, Ibis Budget. It was also very continental, as you could see. And, yeah, overall, price was okay, given. Although, when we looked at the walk-in prices, you can see they were expecting €200 for that night. I wouldn't recommend. Sorry, but this has to have a bad score.